Okay, thank you. So let's start. For today, we have to relate to the big news that happened a few days ago. I'm pretty sure that you're aware, that you've seen that something happened, something very interesting, and we are here together, myself and Kraus, for a reason. We have partnerships, and we announced it last week or 2 weeks ago. You know, the COVID time, work from home. I'm losing the time, so probably it was something that you have seen, you have enrolled in this webinar. And for today, we would like together to explain why did we partnership and how, you know, the 1+1, how we get for you the 3. The benefits of both of us eventually will help you to understand how to move to S/4HANA. This is the center of this discussion today. And our vision was always to accelerate, to automate processes, operate processes that typically are one of the things that any SAP customer has to deal with, is considered more or less a nightmare. Now, when you move from SCC to S4, this is another game. And I know that there is a brownfield and a greenfield movement. Anyhow, you need to understand, you need to have that brain to understand how the change will impact you, will impact the business, will impact the IT business process, and so forth. So we took the game to another level. And when you combine the change intelligence from Panaya, the leader of impact analysis in the field for the last 14 years, and then you bring in the test automation leader, Worksoft, the #1 test automation for SAP, then what will happen? It's basically you have all-in-one one platform, not 4 or 5 different technologies combined, and you have one platform, user-centric, minded to automate anything from A to Z within one platform to help you with the S4 migration. Now, what we'll do today is to review for a second, the new norm. What does it mean for us? But if we're relating to the partnership, this partnership came in for a reason. So first of all, we all asked the question, how the COVID situation will impact the S4 plans. And after hearing the results from the poll, maybe we had a slight, delay, because, we had a couple of months that we didn't know what to do and were like sitting on the fences. But now we hear more and more, like you answered, that we need to go back into the game. We have a job. We have even more demanding business changes to cope with it. We are enforced to change the way that we did the business, yesterday, and today we need to be more agile, and you have to bring innovation into your business. Therefore, S/4HANA is the answer. And not only that, and when you have this partnership, creating a perfect solution for you, extending Worksoft connective automation with the impact analysis from Panaya, then you get that brain with automation. I'm not saying that everything is, it's a robotic thing, but you have the opportunity to focus on your expertise, to utilize the resources that you have the best. You are now very minded on your expenses. Then when you have the 2 SAP experts partnered for you, then you get the greatest value. It is a game changer for all of us. Therefore, you'll see that myself and Chris, maybe we'll have some more webinars together, because we have so many things to bring for you, not only for S/4HANA, but also for your ECC projects. Imagine that you have an S/4HANA greenfield implementation. You want to move to S4 system conversion, business suite on HANA, innovation projects. You have us together with a foresight into what to fix, what will break, what to test, and what to automate. Okay, smart automation with the smartest impact analysis in the field. So if you are speaking about ROI, think about the results. Okay, the ROI is everywhere, starting with how do you plan, how do you fix, and how do you automate your business processes so you get to production in time, in quality, and in budget.
Yep.
So a bit about Panaya. Panaya Change Intelligence. For those that you're not familiar with Panaya, we've been there for years. Founded in 2006. We do have solutions for SAP, also for Oracle and Salesforce. We were in the Magic Quadrant, pointed out by Gartner, because solutions from Panaya is also not just impact analysis, but we have created a perfect application lifecycle management solution with a biz DevOps mindset. You know, SAP world is not just the IT. You have the business users. They need to work with you together. They are part of the chain, part of the DevOps chain, and they shouldn't be forgotten. I think that Chris will relate to it in a few slides from now. So we work with customers, big names out there. You can see by yourself, you know, DHL, ABB, Coca-Cola, Cepsa, L'Oreal, and so forth. And again, something to think about. We are not just talking in theory. We have customers that moved with us to S/4HANA, and they truly saved at least 50% of their time and efforts, and they did this with system integrators. The system integrators now would be able, with this partnership, to truly have the most productive people to support a true business transformation, and not just to get there to S4. Get there with this value of true innovation or business processes. Chris.
Thank you, Lynette. That's a great setup, because I think it's really interesting to think about how the two companies can work together, because we're strong complements. We've always worked together in the field. Now we actually formalized relationship. But as people may have seen, Worksoft has updated our brand, right? We've been around since 1999, but we relaunched our connective automation brand. So just to put into context, we provide connective automation for the world's largest brands, combining the full lifecycle from business process discovery to testing to execution in one codeless platform that is easy to use, accessible to non-technical team members, which is important. We want to include business in these things, right? Our platform empowers QA to deliver flawless applications faster, more efficiently, with the ability to repurpose the automation for more accurate and durable RPA in production. So when we say automation, we mean through the entire lifecycle, not only just your testing and your validation, your progression testing, actually moving that to make your life more efficient in your production systems themselves. Both our testing and RPA are supported by our automated process capture to create precise and reusable process documentation without interrupting the business user's daily routine. So you'll notice we have common customers across here, but the nice thing is, you know, we plug directly into the core ALM capabilities of Panaya. We now have connectivity into the impact analysis, so you'll be able to understand from the impact of your change, whether it's the greenfield, the brownfield, the lift and shift, how to get everything together the right way. So I'll start with an analogy. So if you think about this migration to HANA, some people just say faster, faster, faster. I need to do this 10 times faster. And so what they do is they say, it's like moving your house. Okay, I've got all these boxes. I've got all this stuff in my house. I just need to move fast. I don't need to think about it. Just brute force move fast. And what happens is they don't do any planning. And, you know, one guy gets a truck, he starts putting all his junk on it and needs to move, balancing boxes all by himself and thinking it's just about speed. You know, his sole point is, I need speed. I don't need to think about anything else that'll just slow me down. But in reality, you actually can do a little bit of planning and a little bit of pre-work of building your checklist, and you will move dramatically faster. So if you think about, I'm just going to throw everything and move it into my new house, and then when I unpack the boxes, you say, why did I move this? I don't need this. I didn't even know this was in the garage. You spent money to move things, and then you have to give them away to charity or throw them away. So our suggestion is, why don't you call your friends, you know, Panaya and Worksoft together, and what we're going to do is we're going to help you build a plan. How are you going to move to your new house, right? How are you going to move to your new SAP system? So the point is, we want to build a plan. We want to think about, what do you throw away and not move, because it costs you less to not move it. And then when we get there, everything will be well organized and labeled so you know it's there. So it's one thing to get moved. The next step is like, what do we do when we're in the new house? Like, how are things moved? Does the refrigerator fit? Does it fit? Is it too small? Is it too big? You know, do my washer and dryer fit in the closet? Are they too big? So there's one thing getting there. And then the second part is there's actually some do's and don'ts of actually getting there. Like, do stop and make a plan. Clean house before you get there, right? And remediate and fix things. Think about your fit to standard in the SAP analogy. If we say create a plan, we want actually Panaya to create the plan. It's a proven plan of how you get there. It's been used by multiple customers. We know it works, right? And you want to clean, get rid of code you don't need. You want to remediate, fit to standard. And you want to increase your automation across the lifecycle, whether it's test automation or RP. Doesn't matter. We want to get more automation. Automation of creating the plan, automation of remediation across everything. And then we want to think about moving to continuous testing. As Zinette mentioned, Panaya is one of the leaders in agile planning. Why would we not have continuous testing and Worksoft tied into that, right? And then we want to think about our end-to-end testing versus just unit testing, making sure that business processes work. So on the don'ts, so don't move all your junk. Don't move code you don't need to move. You're just going to remediate it for no reason and be unhappy in your sandbox. If you move to a new house, don't assume everything will fit. You know, just because you have a refrigerator doesn't mean it's going to fit. Just because you have a sales order process you've used from 15 years ago doesn't mean it's the same sales order process in the new SAP. And really think about automating on the front end. People say, well, once I get there, I'll build my automation tests. I don't have time. But in reality, it will save you tons of time to have automated tests while you do your plan, right? So Zinette, do you like the analogy? I think it works well.
Yes, I do. And you know, this is the summertime. Basically, many people are moving, and you know, if you remember that SAP and rightfully are saying all the time, and I remember that slide. That's, you know, junk in, junk out. And I remember, you know, the fighting with your spouse when you're moving your stuff, and you know, maybe you're not sure how to identify it, right? How to identify the things that I'm using as opposed to things that I'm not using, and how to identify what to pack. And this is a perfect analogy because it's not just, you know, and then let's go to the basics now. It's not just if I need to move my custom code. The question will be, which custom code should I move?
Yep.
Should I move the custom code that is not in use anymore? You know, the junk? Are saying purge your unused code right now. Do not wait. Even though you can, you know, move to S4HANA maybe in a year or two, it doesn't matter. It's not just for S4HANA. It's also for your daily maintenance, because any business innovation that you'll have to run with, then the cost of it will be higher because you have that junk in your house, right? This is for the daily thing, you know? But now when you want to move, and you've pointed this perfectly, the standard things that you have in your house, I'm not speaking about the junk, I'm not speaking about the gadgets that your husband do not want to throw away, or the things that I want to keep, not that. Imagine that you have your house moving to the next house, and you want to take your kitchen with you, your the dishwasher, the things that the standard thing that you're thinking that are standard, and now you get to the house. Let's presume for a second that you don't know the house, how it looked like, but then nothing matches. The infrastructure has changed, and what you need to do is basically you're stuck. You cannot move, or you move and you cannot do anything, right? So imagine that this is the analogy for S4HANA. And if I'm taking your examples, Chris, so let's take even another example. How do I know to move, and how to expect? Would I have a magic mirror to ask the Oracle, how should I move? And then without the ability to forecast what will happen, then you're getting stuck with your junk. The fridge won't match. You cannot simply move. You'll fail again and again. And I'm taking your analogy and say you'll have this truck maybe, you know, too occupied with stuff, and then it gets stuck, and, you know, you need to start this again and again. So with Panaya and with Worksoft together, this risk is being removed like completely. So first of all, I'm pretty sure that the ones that already moved to S4HANA maybe remember the days they had to do a POC, to run the migration tools, and you spend like 6 months or so just to create the project blueprint and to take the decision. You have the business case created, but what Panaya provides you, first of all, is that you can easily create with a prepared cookbook. I love the analogy. They have the cookbook, really the ingredients, how to run with SAP migration tools, the simplification item checklist, the ATC, and of course, with the reports that Panaya needs in order to analyze your landscape, and then if you have also the Worksoft business processes captured in your library, imagine that. It's not just analyzing with this brain, I'm calling the brain, it's not just analyzing the impact on the code, it's analyzing everything. What will change in terms of the standard? What will change in terms of your custom code? Which add-ons you need or not? Business functions, roles, BW extractors, but more importantly, your business processes, how they are going to change, which transactions are going to be deleted, how your current ECC, you have an ECC catalog probably, right? Do you need to rewrite it? Should you know this upfront? Should you know and understand the testing activities and efforts, not just the fixes that you need to do? I can tell you that when I'm speaking with customers and you know, opportunities, that this testing thing is not even in the spectrum, right? Oh, yeah. I'm now focused on what to fix, right, Chris?
Yes. We find that people say, hey, I know my code is not going to move. I need to get my ABAP guys working, but they don't think of it holistically, because there's some things go away, some things are simplified into new transactions. Same thing with your automated tests. Some will go away, some will be simplified, and most importantly, when you identify the new transactions and new workflows, we need to go identify those and bridge that gap, right? There's a gap analysis we have to do to find what's changed.
And I think that the nicest thing here, I'm not sure if you see the 48 hours, and this is the thing that I'm always astonished about. I worked for SAP once upon a time, and I was a key user, I was a business user, I did everything possible around it. And when I was presented with Panaya that it's possible to do that in 48 hours, I was blown away in a way that said, how do you do that? And now what we did, it's basically the same from ECC to S4. It was in a way like mission impossible, but I'm saying always, and this is me being a freak of Back to the Future, I had to have this DeLorean and to see, and now I have the best DeLorean. We have the best DeLorean for you, dear customers. Panaya and Worksoft empowers 2 engines, 2 DeLoreans to say to you, not just what will happen in terms of you know, innovation, how much it will cost you, efforts, everything that you need to do, all of this in 48 hours. And this is not something that I'm inventing. And you'll see in the demo what you get immediately when you start to work. So let's get back to the how to create a plan. The philosophy around it is basically that, you know, Chris, you said it right. You have to have a to-do list, right? Create the plan. And then what do you do next? Let's say you don't have Panaya, okay? What do you do next? You analyze and scope and analyze and scope, but you do this manually with Excels, with PDFs. You try to correlate the simplification item with a business processes catalog that you have automated, the ones that are being used or not, question mark, and then how this will apply with the custom code that you have. Is that batch input function will keep working? Maybe not, maybe yes. Is it based on the deleted transaction? You don't know. Therefore, with the Panaya change intelligence engine, we have this presented, we have a factory-like, have this presented and created on the spot, ready for you to start looking at it and start working with it, assign the people, and you're good to go. And then it's not just what to fix. Remember, there is a sandbox. Everybody speaks about the sandbox, and the sandbox is created that is specific for S4 in a way that you have a milestone in the middle where you need to understand what to do before and what to do after. This is very important. That plan, it says to you the same, because first of all, you need to have the truck, right? And the packages ready, and you have a sort of order how to do things. So we're doing this for you as well, what to do before and next, and when to test, when to fix, right? The standard things should be supported, adapted before the sandbox, the simplification item list. Part of the HANA migration. The business processes that you have in Worksoft automated, you need to look at them and see, wait a second, this is yes, no, remediate it. You need to fix them according to the new business processes. And then what could happen that, and then this is true, you can test me on that. The best practice is saying that if you did the sandbox conversion 4 times, you failed only 4 times, then you did a great job. And I'm speaking with customers, I had numbers that were like 8 times and 12 times, and just for you to understand the analogy of it, and I'm taking Chris' example, it's like, oh, you think that you can have the truck, dispatch into your house, but wait a second, you need to go back, you need to get the packages out, go to your house again and start it again, because the sandbox is literally an event that you need to take into consideration, and you are spending your time for nothing. So with Panaya and Worksoft, you are really eliminating this close to zero. Imagine that you have all the fixes in order. You have automated your tests to run faster. You have the sandbox converted. Now you have the custom code fixes done. You have the test planning done already, right? You have the automation prepared. You have the UAT in line. The business users will be there for you, because guess what? If you have the plan ahead and you know what will break and what needs to be changed, and then you need to know who should I speak to in order to change the entire MRP, because it's changing, right? And you have them engaged beforehand. You're not waiting for them, because you need them to audit the implementation. You need their sign-off, right? And you have that dashboard, that cockpit that you can look at everything in all time, in real time. And when you go live, then you really go live. So how do you do that? First of all, I'm repeating, you need to clean your house, okay? Purge the unused codes beforehand. Have the Panaya extraction cookbook. We worked for that cookbook for quite a while, just to ensure that you know how to navigate in how to install the tools, how to get the results faster. And with Panaya Change Intelligence Analytics Engine, you have the S4 project blueprint ready in 48 hours. And now I will go to the demo. I hope to do this live. I've threatened my family not to go to Netflix, nothing, but I'm prepared also with something recorded.
It's been known to happen. You're sharing the internet with the house.
Yes. Everything could happen today, but yes, the Netflix thing is really killing me. I can tell you, I'm trying to. So yeah, laptops, Netflix. Do not speak. Do not bark. Silence. Mom is talking. Yeah. So let's go into a live demo. Let's see if the threats really applied. Okay. So remember the project blueprint? Now, this is what you see. Once you have passed the cookbook, you extracted the data, the factory, Panaya factory and Worksoft factory is working for you. 48 hours later, you get a notification, get into your project, start working, and voila, it's here. And let's have this a walkthrough. It's a teaser. I'm not showing you everything, but okay, teaser for the next webinars, teaser, enroll. If you want to speak with us, you'll get a full demonstration of the products and one solution. You will see in a second. So first of all, what should I fix? What will change? You have the corrections that you need to do for everything. If you want to have this in one step or two steps, it's really up to you. Move to HANA. If you have already moved to HANA, fine, but you can do this in one step. And then you have, the test and correction heat maps. It's very important to understand how to optimize the efforts around it. I'm always saying, are you cleaning your house before you're throwing the junk, right? Do you clean the things that you're not using for 2-3 years, or you now say throw it away? Now imagine that you're not doing this. You're not purging your unused code. You don't know what is used and not, and you're starting to guess. So what you see here, that you have maps, heat maps of the things that are frequently used, normally used, and so forth, but you have also the severity of them. Imagine that you have that sandbox conversion and you forgot to fix one thing, one issue, the smallest one. You didn't map correctly your company code to the new general ledger. That's it. A simple code fix, number of that company, and you're doomed to fail on the sandbox. This won't happen with you. This is written here. Then you have also actionable insights to understand how to optimize your project all the time, how to reduce the testing efforts. And you have also something like a big brother, sort of, that if you try to close something as fixed and you didn't do that after you're starting the work, and we do this ETL processing all the time, the factory is working all the time. This is also part of the automation. We're saying to you, look, we are going to reopen the closed corrections because you forgot to fix them, maybe. So you have this here as well, and you have the entire view of the project risk, looking at everything that you need to know about it, and you have the efforts, and you can calculate all the time and recalculate. Am I right? Am I on track? Should I be able to raise a hand and say, look, I'm not there yet. I need to grab more resources, or I'm finishing sooner, and then let's do the rehearsal of the UAT beforehand. So you have a project blueprint here. You have the correction plan to understand specifically what you need to fix, and it's everything. I'm always saying that I would prefer to know everything up front. I want to have this visibility. I don't want surprises. Maybe it's when I'm looking at it, maybe it's frightening that I have so many things to fix, but I would prefer to know upfront, because 70% of all S4 projects are not in the budget, not in the timeline. This is very, very serious, very critical. So with Panaya, at least you know how to plan ahead. And if you have Worksoft in it, imagine that, not just to plan the fixes, you plan the automatic remediations, you plan right your testing efforts. Automation is being done, test automation is being done fixed up front. You don't wait for it, you work in parallel. And then instead of doing the manual testing for everything, you can automate the things that matter, the business process, the regression, even unit tests, you can automate them all the time and speed up the cycles. So if you want to handle with deleted transactions, and this is big, 11K transactions are going to be deleted, but you know upfront what are the deleted transactions that you need to take into consideration, because it means for you need to change your standard business processes. Now, HANA and S4HANA basically are simplifying everything for you. If you want to know upfront which business functions should be turned off, turned on, it's important. Add-ons, BW extract impacts, your custom code. We talked about the batch input. We talked about the clones, the ATC custom code that are related to simplification items. Everything is in one place, and everything is optimized to the things that you need to do. Because if I'm taking everything here, look at the numbers. Okay, 6, 8, 10. Okay, this is, I'm not saying hours, even not weeks, month and month of optimization that you can do. Now, same, it's not just the core, how the satellites are impacted. You know, you have interfaces, you have RFCs, you have BAPEs, you have other systems, you know, working with your core system like Salesforce and your homegrown applications. You want to understand what will be impacted and at least test them. Another use case, amazing use case for test automation, because Worksoft is covering everything. You know, the bidirectional business process that you need to run, it's covered here. Now let's move forward. In terms of the test tree is generated automatically for you. Unit tests, progression testing in terms of Fiori, and the ones that are being replaced. This is, for example, a test for Migo, you have a test for Fiori application. You know, you have a new Fiori application for purchase order. This is something that you need to understand how to test it up front and when to test it, because look at this, it's not ready to test. And why? Because there are correlated custom code preparation that you need to do. Imagine the back and forth that you need to do in order to test, no more. So I will stop here and you'll see how we're taking this. It's not a step further, it's 100 yards further to have this automated. So now I will give you this.
Thanks, Zinette. Yeah, so
yes,
what I'm going to talk about is how we work together. So one thing that people ask about is, you know, oh, I didn't realize that, you know, Worksoft and Panaya, you know, can work together. It's like we've built integration quite a long time ago. But what I find the most interesting thing is, you know, if you didn't have Panaya, what would happen? That impact analysis you talked about, you just run the test and fail. Look, yep, y'all missed something. Run the test. Yep, it failed. Because automated testing would tell you that every day. But now that we have a plan to know the order in which things should be remediated, and we don't run the tests before they're remediated, it seems like we'll like get rid of a lot of false failures. I'm excited about that. And I'm all about increasing the automation. So if you think about testing, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we get all of our unit tests and our end-to-end tests and look at this in a very holistic manner. We want to understand how everything works together. So you may have manual tests, you may have automated tests in Worksoft. We're going to provide that visibility in Panaya together. So in Panaya, we saw there's a test tree. That's our test plans get created. We also can take your Worksoft library. So if you've got, say, your 5,000 ECC tests, and that's your gold folder copies, as we call them, we will synchronize those over into Panaya, and we can tell Panaya about the tests, some metadata, which modules, what they're doing, and then we'll participate in the impact analysis. So when we think about the tests, we have that working together. The other thing is we just enhanced this integration. We created this about 1.5 years ago. We recently enhanced it so you can now select specific data sets. So instead of assuming you have a different test and repeat the test over and over and over again for every country, Latin America, for Hong Kong, for China, for EMEA, our tests are data-driven. So we now have enabled the data-driven part within Panaya. You may have an order-to-cash or a Migros application transaction you need to test, but you have different combinations of data based on your country or your geographic location. We've traditionally put those in record sets. Those are now visibly show up in Panaya. So you can not only say run this test, but run it with specific data. So we don't want to flood yourself with too many nonsense tests. We'll do just the right ones. The next step is how do we get the results back? So we do find what's really important is to get that single visibility to the business for how do I approve and say we're going to go forward. So what happens is we synchronize the test catalogs. There's math that goes on with the intelligent engine, the brain, to pick the right tests to run. We order them, and then obviously you pass them to Worksoft. We actually run the tests, and then we send back the results. So we're syncing back the passing and failing in Panaya. So your test plan from the business user's perspective has all the data in it. So you have a single point of truth for your plan, how you're going to remediate and delete transactions, what transactions will change. You'll be able to see that you've remediated your ABOP code, maybe done your mapping of your data correctly, and then we'll have the automated tests. Because in reality, people are not going to do a single waterfall approach. They may do Agile Fall or Wagile, or mini waterfall. That they're going to do multiple iterations of releases. We see that very common. So we want to have multiple iterations of testing to go with that. So what we think about when I talk to customers, I really talk about biz dev ops, right? I want to enable this capability to business to help build the tests, to understand the analysis of the transactions, so they understand what is the actual business process. We know we've got roles, and we've got T codes that are changing. They can actually see them, visualize them, get say their BPMN diagrams to put into their analysis tools, and then we want to run those. So we do see a handshake between the business analysts and testing center of excellence to actually go through and build the automation itself, right? To actually run those things. And then the nice thing is we're putting the results back into Panaya. And the lower right-hand corner, it should look familiar to a playlist. So we have our passing and failing of our transactions there. So we've really done a nice job to think about how would you do a transition more seamlessly by adding the two companies work together. So we want to document the process, deep understanding of it, visualize it, give something to business, automate that, not only unit, end-to-end tests, think about data that goes in and out of SAP from Salesforce to mainframes and all those cool systems, and then get all the results there. And we do find there's reasons for RPA. People say we still have to do setup plants manually. We have to set up our printers manually. We do disaster recovery validations and that. So there's a lot of places where you're going to run part of these robotic processes in production, right? So it's a nice end-to-end solution together. So what does this look like? So should kind of look familiar to what you saw with Zinette. We have the catalog here. So I'll do a refresh. So I've got my catalog here, and I've synchronized my Worksoft tests here. So if I start with say in, I can see there are some different tests. I start writing in stock. What I'll find is I can actually find specific tests themselves and see what's available. I can see there's a crate delivery in stock. I actually have some bike part tests here. And the neat new enhancement we did is you'll notice this new column here called record set. So if we have different data for different countries, maybe I need to run this test for Latin America because we're going to go live with them. I can say create playlist, and I'll say go LA, and we'll start running the processes. So the nice thing is a business person can start running this from their perspective. They don't have to worry about learning how to get into certifying those things. We put everything together. Okay, so I'll save that. So the next time I do this, I'll use this parts in LA. So what we want to do is we want to get our entire library of automation pushed over into Panaya. We understand, there's certain things we know. We've got T codes, we've got descriptions, and all these things. And the one unique thing in Worksoft is we've always said you have end-to-end tests and you have unit tests. So you're going to bring them both over, and we're going to use the impact analysis, the intelligent impact analysis, to actually pick the right ones. So what happens is we'll end up with a test list. So the tests that I've chosen and I've picked, say, record sets for that I want to run, they show up here in the test list, just like your normal test. You'll notice this type is these are automated. And then what happens, we'll end up with the running of them. So if I look over at my playlist execution, what happens is Panaya sends a message over to Worksoft and say, please run this. So this one is the one I just created. I said the go LA. We've kicked it off, and it's starting to run in the background. This is actually passing to my instance of Certify. It's launching SAP. It's running the tests in the background, and I'll get the results back. So you can see here, I ran this one earlier today, where I had different record sets and data. Now, one thing that's interesting is, if this is of interest to you, and say, okay, I think I've got the fix. I had a data problem. I can actually just go and do a rerun and say, only run the failed tests. So I'll push that out to run, or I may run all the tests. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we can see this one's now kicked off, the Go LA, it ran, it failed, so I can see the evidence of what's run from the business user's perspective. So the nice thing is we've done a really good integration where you can see historically what's run, the status of your tests, you can actually see the evidence, but we're bringing it all together from the business perspective. So when you think about, I have my project plan, how am I going to move house, but I'm not going to move everything, I'm going to move the right things. We're going to include not only in the remediation of the code, we're going to suggest where your deltas, what tests don't run, what tests change, and what are your gaps? What are your new business processes that have identified that you need to go run your automation for? So I know it's a light demo. We have some on YouTube, and we'll do more detailed demos of this later. But we wanted to give a feel of how this works together. So there are tangible benefits for this, right? It's not just a Barney relationship like some people where they co-market things. This is actually strong co-development and realization that we have hardcore value to give to our joint customers, right? So Zinette, could you tell us about project blueprinting and proven project planning, keeping the budget? I mean, that's a big thing, right?
Right. I've worked with many customers, and I said this. I was in a way blown away about the amount of time, and it's I think an emotional thing in a way that you don't know what will happen. Then you take the time to understand the migration tools, to understand the results, and you have a POC, and it could take months and months of preparations to do that. And it struck me that this could go away. This could go away, and if it's going away, then instead of focusing on the technical stuff, on the impact on your code, if you knew this upfront that the business process is going to change, then you plan with the right resources, with the right people, with the right budget. And the number that I said, this is a number, 70% that are not in the budget, because what do they, you don't plan the testing, you don't know, so you're not focusing on them, and then you don't plan the automation, you don't take into consideration how much efforts you need just to fix the tests that you have already in the catalog, and you don't understand how many activities you need to run and how to correlate them together. So I've been very surprised to understand that people are taking like a PDF Bible of, 1,000 pages from the simplification item, mark them with a marker, and then you have an Excel spreadsheet with the ATC fixes, and you start to correlate them together, and this takes a lot of time. Then you finish that, you have the project finally, and you start, keeping a way to not to fall off from the budget. So one of the values that we bring together, because now we have also the business processes being analyzed, you have all this, and hear me out again, it's 48 hours. With the cookbook from Panaya, with the catalog from Worksoft, you're there, you can start in days, in weeks, not in months or years. And we talked about the sandbox, the truck that are falling down with all the boxes again and again. Imagine that you need to do that, and I've spoken with customers, and they were very proud to say to me that they failed only 8 times, and I looked at it, and are you for 8 times to fail on the sandbox? I said, okay, because it's amazing. So you really prevent this from happening. You have all the tiny issues as errors, severity things that you need to fix. You have the automation in place to run this faster, and you go to the sandbox and then move on, right? Like a production line. I'm taking the analogy of supply chain management because I was in this profession once, but it's something that it should move all the time, not just faster, not just let's move 10 times faster to get faster bugs into production, right? Not that. We need to save time, in a smart way, an intelligent way. And we need to identify how to do that. The unused code, the deleted transaction. The deleted transaction is a big thing. Big thing. Like, imagine that you have an entire module affected. 70% out of it, you need to adjust it. You want to know that upfront. I cannot even quantify I cannot quantify what will happen if you go into production with a business process that you didn't change, and you think you can use the same transaction. It's mind-blowing. It could be millions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is in a nutshell what I've seen so far.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting is people lose sight of automation and they say, oh, I don't have time to automate. I'm trying to do all these other things. But in reality, when you have a plan and you see how much testing is involved, what we found with customers is automation reduces your overall testing time by 5x. Like, yes, it may take you, 3 hours to write a test case, but if you consider you're going to run that test case 40 times a year, and most importantly, you're going to save wall clock for that. If it takes a human being, say, 500 hours to run the manual tests, and it takes you 50 hours to run those tests and automation, you're actually saving time. There's a huge ROI for that. Our customers literally find between finding defects earlier and running tests more often and running them faster, because automation just basically interacts with the application faster, their return on investment is 590% on the first year. And so there's a lot of good things that happen between planning, understanding the scope, how complex is this? And I do get it, a sandbox conversion, our system, it took 4 days to do the conversion. So I would hate for it to fail the third day 10 times. That's 30 days. That's a month I've lost, right? And then we know that if we find our defects before we go to production and testing, the cost of defect is much lower. And it's not just that we presented a defect to the end user. There's actually the change management and all the things to get the fixes into production. So there's lots and lots of reasons we want to actually find all those tests earlier. Get to 90% test coverage is not unusual for a Worksoft customer itself. So it looks like we're at the top of the hour. So Zinette, thank you for staying late and talking with us on this webinar.
Yeah, it's a wonderful marriage. I'm saying it's the first period, the honeymoon. But I believe in this partnership. Well, it is a game changer for all our customers, our customers, and SAP customers for sure. Yeah, so thank you all for joining. See you next time.